business. So welcome everybody to the Digital Toolkit today. Awesome to have another awesome panel of experts here to share their inside knowledge. And we're going to be talking today about how to use Facebook groups to grow your business with some tips and some insight, but also some discussion around whether you should do it or not, which is really interesting. So we have some amazing guests to say here today. The Digital Toolkit 2020 has been an extraordinary panel of experts sharing their insight and knowledge and tips during the year. And it continues with the topic today being using Facebook groups to grow your business. And we have some extraordinary guests with us today. These are the companies that are supporting the Digital Toolkit, and they've just had an extraordinary balance, really. It's been wonderful to have these like-minded people gather together to deliver this information on a weekly basis for everybody, and really excited to learn more about some of these companies, and you're welcome to go and check them out. They are all awesome in their business space and doing incredible things, especially during COVID. And I know, welcome to half the Melburnians who cannot wait to get out of their homes at the moment. I've been speaking to a couple of them today, and they are so excited that they can go to the hairdresser in the next couple of weeks. Cannot believe they've been 200 and something days without a haircut, or at least banishing the pudding bowl to the cupboard so they don't have to do it anymore themselves. So yeah, awesome to see everybody here. Thank you so much for everybody who's been part of this incredible panel, and for Katrina and the team who run this, who just do amazing things. Carly from Inkblot VA, who just does incredible things with support as well. You guys absolutely rock. And I understand Katrina's booked in for her baby on the 4th of November as well. So we're all very much hanging out for her, and waiting to say hello to her baby as well, as I'm sure she is too. So very quickly, I'm Lauren Clement. I'm one half of the founding partners of the Audacious Agency. Myself and Annette Densham founded the agency this year, although we have been working together for about 6 years, referring business to each other. We cover off branding, publicity, awards, and helping you to market your best-selling book, among other things that we do with growing your profile. So it's all about making sure that you stand out from the crowd and leveraging your amazing expertise and content. So we do have a coaching program that's available on a monthly basis, and you can jump into that. The link is there if you wanted to know more about that. We also have Alex Cumberland here from Encored, who is more than a website development company, far more. In fact, you need to go and check out Encored, because everything works together there. And if you've been looking for tools and you're going, why doesn't this all just work together? You probably just haven't found Encored yet. So welcome, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Pretty good job explaining what we do, actually. I like that. So yeah, Encored is a website platform. So it lets you build a website, grow a contact database, do marketing campaigns to that database, and sell online as well. We were started because we wanted to create a really solid platform for small businesses to use to run a successful online presence.
Brilliant. I love it. So yeah, so if you need to check Encored out and you're going, this is what I need, I've been looking for something that does everything, then get in touch with Alex, which is very, very cool. Also, I'd like to welcome the lovely Taryn, and also Jeff is with us as well today from Cassie. And what I love about Cassie is, if you like being on Facebook and creating all sorts of really cool graphics and amazing online ads, guess what? You can now put them on billboards and get right in front of your audience with Cassie. So welcome, guys. Lovely to see you, Taryn and Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's good for you. So I guess you've given a pretty good overview of what we do. We always say that we like Facebook ads, but for billboards. So yeah, you're using your same techniques as what you do to put out your Facebook content. You just do the exact same process, pick your locations, upload your ads, and set them off onto those billboards on a pay-per-play basis.
Yeah, brilliant.
One of the good parts is you can either self-serve it and run your own billboard or outdoor campaign, shopping centers, or what have you. Or your digital marketer can do that for you as well, which is really handy for small businesses.
Yeah, brilliant. And you're getting right in front of your audiences. So think about all those places where people are sitting and waiting for things to happen. News agents, doctors' surgeries, all over the place, people are looking at screens and they could be looking at your ads. So really like the idea behind what these guys are doing. So have a chat to Cassie.co and get in touch with Taryn or Jeff to talk about how you can utilize their platform as well. We also have the fabulous Sheldon Moore here. Sheldon, it's a pleasure to have you here as usual. Sheldon is a technology consultant, and basically if you have technology headaches and really would like your business to be working much more optimized, this is the man to speak to. Sheldon, lovely to have you here today.
Thanks, Lauren. Nice introduction. Yeah, and great to be around with Alex and Taryn and Jess. It's yeah, an interesting environment we're working in now, and helping businesses actually set themselves up for what they're going to do for the next 6 months in technology is part of the first part of my program, which is the Tech Health program. So yeah, I'd like business to help businesses understand what they're going to do with their technologies in the next 6 months.
Yeah, brilliant. It is interesting, isn't it, how things are radically shifting, with people realizing they have to play in that digital space regardless of what sort of business they have. It's really going fast now, I think, Sheldon. People realizing that they're going to be not just missing the bandwagon, but out of the scope entirely if they're not somewhere, and if they don't have that optimized so their business can really grow. So awesome to see that you're busy, and I expect you're going to be even more busy as time goes on. We were going to have Trevor with us. We haven't heard back from Trevor today. Hopefully we'll have him on the next panel as well. And of course the lovely Carly is in the background here helping us out and making things work. She's incredible support, and if you're looking for administrative support or someone just to back you up, Carly is awesome at Inkblot VA. You can go and check her out as well. So just some general housekeeping. If you're joining us on the Zoom room, and I know Helix Legal are here, nice to see you guys, and we'll admit you as people are joining the Zoom room as well. Make sure you keep your mic on mute if you can, if you're not speaking, just so that we don't hear the burping and farting and birds in the background. Also, not that that happens at our place ever. Seriously, my husband let out the loudest burp the other day, and everyone was shocked, and it wasn't me. They still think it was me. But anyway, certainly you can interrupt us and ask questions. And, you know, hopefully we'll be able to answer them. But certainly you can jump in and ask questions in the chat, but also unmute yourself and ask questions. And if you're watching the recording, pop a question into the comments so that we can, our experts on the panel will answer those as soon as they can as well. Grab a cuppa, a glass of wine, a glass of vodka, whatever you fancy. It is Wednesday afternoon. Who knows what you want to drink, and sit back and relax, and we will have some fun with our experts today. So I'm not sure what the next slide is. That's next week, so I can stop sharing. That's really awesome. I don't even think I am sharing. I am. Stop sharing, computer. Awesome. So what we're going to talk about today is how to use Facebook groups for business. And I know we have a Facebook group called Rocket Launch Your Business, which you are very welcome to join. It's a closed group. You do have to answer some questions to get in there. But other than that, it really is a group for entrepreneurs. And we've got a couple of thousand global entrepreneurs in there. But what I want to ask each of our panelists today is, what do they see the purpose of Facebook groups is? And what are some of the insights in terms of what a Facebook group can do for your business if you really wanted to use that? And I'm going to start with Sheldon, because Sheldon, you've got not one, but a number of Facebook groups. So maybe you can give us a bit of an insight as to what the sort of groups are that you have and what purpose they serve for your business.
So thanks, Lauren. Yes, I have two levels of clients. So I have clients, I use Facebook groups exclusively for clients. They're private, closed groups. You can only get in by invitation, and we have to be connected. So they're for people to actually who want to engage with what I do and understand what I do and get some help from time to time about their technology platforms and how well technology is performing for them is one group, and that's just the general business engagement group. And then I have the group that is actually working through my program. That's the Business Advantage program group. And in there, I put all of the tools and questionnaires and responses and ideas that I'm giving my clients. So one's for basically just sharing, and the other one is actually resource pools and responses to information. Yeah, so they're quite small. I mean, it's limited to the clients I have. So some of them are paying me, and they're in the one that gets lots of value, and then in the just general group, there's just information that they can share and exchange and get ideas.
What made you decide to go with a group for doing that rather than, I guess, wanting to do like email newsletters or something else, Sheldon?
Firstly, I've never set up a good email distribution system, and I've actually hated getting emails in my inbox. In fact, I've basically unsubscribed to almost every list I have, or I used to have, and so I want to be able to filter what I do and what I get. So if my clients are like me, they don't want to get tons of emails in because they just disappear. So with a group environment, you can engage when you want to. So I have fixed times where I go into Facebook and LinkedIn, my social media area, Facebook particularly, and I just engage with that for perhaps an hour each morning and an hour in the afternoons, and then almost through the rest of the day, I don't do anything with them. Unless someone messages me, and I can then pop in and we can have a discussion. And of course, LinkedIn groups are just not usable in this space at all. The file sharing information, the media information, the way you can structure the groups to have video content versus file sharing versus notes and activities is so much better in Facebook.
Yeah, I get the feeling, Sheldon, that LinkedIn groups are a bit more one-way traffic. It's more about having like-minded people together who share content rather than interaction. Yeah, and I was with one of the people in a networking group I was in earlier in the week, pointed out that about a year or so ago, LinkedIn turned off the ability to broadcast to your members of your group. So when you put a post in there, it used to get shared with all the members of the group, or they get notified. They turned that feature off, and now it's become virtually useless for communicating. Yeah, unless you're specifically following someone, you're not going to see it.
No, that's right. And unless you're going into the group, and if you're like me, I don't want to get disrupted through my day for work, so I actually have no notifications on, even on my phone or on my desktop. So it's not the way I don't want to be disturbed. Yeah, absolutely. It's a big tip actually for productivity, isn't it? Turn off notifications. I don't want everyone's watched The Social Dilemma, the documentary on Netflix at the moment. It's a little bit over the top, I've got to be honest with you. The advertising industry has been doing what Facebook and Google are doing for decades. They just didn't have the platforms like we do now. So it's no different. You know, people will buy what they're enticed to buy, and people will use all sorts of different mechanisms to make them want to buy things. But one of the big tips was, that interruption factor that digital absolutely has. But that's why, I mean, look, we're talking about Cassie, interrupting people in their day by, broadcasting to them on billboards. So that's what life is about these days. So I know I started my Facebook group, Sheldon, exactly the same way you did with yours. And I think it's one of the real values of having a Facebook group is that it gives you exclusivity, or it can do. So if you have a coaching program or clients who've paid X amount of dollars to get your expertise, especially if you're a service provider, having that closed group that only they get access to you just sets you a little bit apart, so that they feel like they're just that little bit like the VIP group that can communicate with you and with each other, and masterminds and things like that with that sort of level of client. I find those sort of Facebook groups great. I was advised very early on, though, to open it up to other people who weren't necessarily my clients. And it was all down to purpose. What's the purpose of your group? And I know we talk about this a lot on the Digital Toolkit platform. What is the reason behind what you're trying to do? So, Alex, I wonder whether I can flick it over to you with what are some of the reasons why you might want to start building a community, be it on Facebook or anywhere else?
Yeah, so I had this pretty well answered for me a little while ago, actually, at a event that we go to called Queensland Leaders. Dave from Working Mouse Software, which is a pretty cool software company here in Brizzy as well. I kind of brought up I guess the topic about how you scale, about I guess how hard it is to scale care. So I guess it's really easy to spend a whole lot of time with a customer and make sure that they have an excellent experience and it's perfect, and that's all very well and good, but that's not scalable. Like, you can't spend that amount of time and effort and, you know, give every single one of your customers that amount of love as a company starts to get bigger. It's just not possible. So I guess one of the things that we were talking about in this room of other software providers was, how do you scale that? You know, how do you scale that care and that quality that you give your customers? And one of the answers to that, you know, Dave gave me to that question was, like, quite simply, it's your community. So instead of trying to focus all of that effort and love into a person, I guess it's more into your philosophy, and it's it's the value that it's the way that you do things, and the way that you look after people, and scaling that. And the way to do that is to, you know, grow a community that has that same value and that same philosophy for looking after each other as well. So I think that Facebook groups is not a bad way of building that community, and I guess that's what it really comes down to, is it's a tool for building a community. So Sheldon is using it for you know, his client engagement side of things, because that's, as he said before, that's where he's getting cut through, because, you know, his clients don't want the email marketing campaigns and those other forms of media. He's, you know, able to better engage with clients through, you know, those Facebook groups. Some of the people that are trying to use Facebook groups as a tool to, you know, grow a community would probably be doing things, you know, slightly differently, obviously. So a couple of the things that I probably suggest doing is having a look at some of the other Facebook groups that you know, have been a little bit of a success. They don't even have to be in the same vertical as you. Another Brisbane company that's in the software space that's done a pretty awesome job with his community is the Content Snare company. So it's a software platform, and that's the founder is James Rose of that one, and he has a Facebook group. So his target audience is basically web design companies and freelance web designers. So he started a Facebook group called Grow Your Web Design Business. So, you know, really targeted at that, you know, this specific type of client, in order to actually get that growth and adoption of his, you know, community. He's embedded it totally in the app, and you know, the onboarding for the software as well, which I think is an important part about, you know, trying to grow that community as well. Is you know, as people are signing up, or, you know, as people have signed up and they're kind of on that next stage of account management, you know, it's being mentioned, hey, you know, as part of the discussion, you know, jump onto the Facebook group here. And it's, you know, a closed invite only group that he's just kind of allowing customers in after they answer questions about, you know, are you a customer of Content Snare, and that type of thing. There's also a couple of pretty good groups around. One of the other ones is My Millennial Money. It's a financial minded one. The Barefoot Investor group is pretty well done as well. So if you go and have a bit of a look at all of these different groups, you'll see, you'll kind of get a bit of a feel for how they onboard people, and, you know, how discussions work and how it's moderated and that type of things. So when someone joins into a Facebook group, you'll notice that the group owner or the page has specified like a set of rules, just kind of outlining like the type of content that it's okay to post, and the, you know, type of content that's, you know, maybe not supposed to be included in that group discussion. They've got, I guess some follow-up info about, you know, the sponsor of the group. So whether that's, you know, the company that's behind it or whatever, and how to get started and why they're doing the group in there, and that type of thing as well. So, I guess as far as building a community, I think Facebook groups is a pretty decent way to get some cut through, and pretty productive. The only other, I guess really big beneficial thing that kind of comes to mind with the Facebook groups and the way that we have been using it is around the developer support side of things. So to kind of help us scaling the developer support, and, you know, other agencies helping each other out with Encored and that type of thing as well. We started a partner group that kind of helps foster that as well. So yeah, obviously the aim of that group is to cut down the amount of time that we're spending on support, and you know, put people in touch with each other so they can help each other out as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. And that support element to a lot of people, especially if they're doing something new or they're entering a program or they're really not sure about the world they're going to end up in, to know that there's going to be someone there or people that will help them can be the reason why they even become a customer. So, you know, it's interesting when you are, and it's something, I guess it's a tip to offer as well, Alex, if you are selling a program or you're selling something, to be able to put on that page and you get access to our exclusive Facebook group for support and help and so on, that might be the bit that tips people over the edge and goes, great, I'm not going to be there on my own. I'm actually going to have somewhere, you know, I'm not going to end up having to speak to somebody in Pakistan, or, you know, there's going to be real people in a Facebook group that I can connect with, engage with, and ask for help. So, so yeah, great point, great tips. And with the support as well, Alex, one point you made was really awesome, was it's not just you being there to help people, because you're right, you cannot possibly be there all the time for people, much as they might want you to be, you know, 24/7 available to them, but having the other members pitch in and give their advice and support as well. How do you best manage that though, Alex? Because quite often, surely when you open that up, people are going to give people advice and you're going to go, no, don't tell them to do that, you know, but how do you sort of balance that out?
Yeah. I mean, in our case, it's been okay. I think having a little bit of quality control with the group has kind of helped. It's easy with a partner support group because they're Encored partners, so they've been vetted already. There's, I guess, been pretty limited situations where someone said something in a group. I guess it is taken as a discussion, you know. It's not like if Encord's not posting that stuff in the group and it's, you know, other members of the group, it's not taken as our word either. But most of the advice, it's you know, generally like a good conversation, people talking about stuff that maybe we hadn't even considered, you know, the way that they're approaching a problem. So yeah, it's probably made the support side of things a little bit easier for us, I think. I don't know that the community should live exclusively on Facebook groups. Because, you know, it isn't your platform, you don't own it, you don't have control over the future of it. They could decide that Facebook groups aren't going to be a thing anymore in 6 months, or they could, you know, cut all of the Facebook feed, Facebook groups' ability to actually get that cut through at any time if they felt like it. So I guess, yeah, I had kind of always been a little bit wary of it. It's a good tool for helping to grow a community and have a conversation, but at the end of the day, you know, I want to control some of that as well. So we still have people, you know, in groups within the Encored database, and you know, managed kind of separately to that as well.
Yeah, brilliant. It's a great point. And it's like anyone, when you're using somebody else's platform, you just don't know whether, you know, you're going to be able to have that forever, or they're going to shut it down or whatever else. One of the tips I will give, while Alex has mentioned that, is in our Facebook group, when you join, you get asked 1 or 2 simple questions. The advice I would suggest is as fewer questions as possible for people entering the groups will help you get those questions answered. So why are you here? Or are you a customer of ours, or whatever? Just a really simple question. What do you want to get out of this group is a really good one to ask. But I always now have an offer that gives them the opportunity to pop their email address in. And I am growing my database from my Facebook group like you wouldn't believe. So the minute I put that on there with one of the questions that says, hey, we've got this thing, it's totally free. If you drop your email address in here, we'll send it to you. Some people say, I'm already getting it, or no, thank you. Majority, 90% of the time, yes, please, here's my email address. So obviously make it a lead generator that you think they're going to want. But it's, as Alex said, a great way to connect with them, to grab their email address. And now they're on your platform. You've got a lot more control over what you can and can't do, and growing that relationship with them as well. So
something that you said there that was really important as well is the consent to that marketing too. Yes. In the messaging that you've given people when you're asking for that email address as well. It's very clear that you're sending them email communication, which is obviously super important with that type of thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to get it? And it's going to come to you in your inbox. So yeah, exactly right. So no, we're going to send it on carrier pigeon. So so what I'd like to do is just flick over to Jeff and Taryn now with this question, because we've talked about, you know, the purpose behind having a Facebook group and what they can do in terms of supporting your customers and so on. But something that was interesting we talked about before we went live today was how can you use your group to really create a bit more interaction. And one of the things these guys mentioned was treating it as a forum. And I really like that idea of using a Facebook group as a forum. So can you give us a bit of an idea, guys, on what you've been thinking around this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of you guys have already covered much of what we were thinking. It's a great way to get support with customers who already exist. And again, it's that scalability factor, being able to support your own customers, supporting your other customers, so that you've got a bit more time to work with people who need you more. But we see this in a lot of tech companies that, not necessarily Facebook groups, but a lot of, how do I do this? What's the best approach to doing X, Y, Z? And usually that's where we're based, so that's where we spend the most time. But
hold on, I think they're having issues with our volume. Sorry guys. Let me see if I can fix this.
I just turned my volume up when these guys come on. They're sharing a computer, guys, so give them a bit of a break.
Yeah, I just turned the volume up too.
Sorry, I had the microphone volume all the way down for some reason.
is that better now?
Yeah, much better.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Yes, so the forums that we usually see are tech forums. So they're specifically about what type of code to use, how to use that, and those sorts of things, where we find that there's a pride associated with knowing what you're putting on there. So it's not just, this is my opinion, this is something that I'm proud to know and that I'm able to help somebody else in my community.
So yeah, we tend to find a lot of that, you know, like, yeah, as Taryn was saying, you know, that whole pride factor. People love to teach other people how to do something. That is something that, I don't know, some kind of release to some degree. Well, in terms of, at least for me, I'm very much a technical person, and most of my experiences with forums kind of come from that. You know, I've got to build something, and there's a suite of different softwares to choose from. Which one am I going to pick? And I naturally always go to this forum called Stack Overflow and see how many answers that each of those ones have, and how responsive, you know, say either the developer has been at responding to questions, or to fixing things, or doing all that sort of stuff. And seeing that happen has been, you know, it really dictates whether I choose one item over the next. And a lot of that comes from that ability to have that forum somewhere to, as soon as you Google, you know, I've got this particular problem, and I know that Google is actually surprisingly quite bad at it. Or where you type in and say, how do I do this with Google Ads, or how do I do this with any of Google's platforms? You'll tend to find an ancient article somewhere on Google's support forum, which hasn't been updated in years. And, you know, you'll have 500 messages of people requesting Google to make a change or provide clarity on something like that. And you just go, you know what, this is terrible. But yeah, having the community have the ability to help others, and also having that ability to Google it and find it, is pretty much what is important to me. And I think that's sort of where that whole thing about forums came from my perspective. I'm not sure, can Facebook groups be found publicly via Google? I didn't think they could.
I don't know if they can be found by Google. I know you can find them on Facebook. You can go on there and search for particular types of groups with particular topics and find them there. Sheldon, I don't know, can you find Facebook groups if you search for them on Google? He's thinking.
I'm not sure. I've not tried.
I don't believe you can. They're not indexed very well if you can, hey?
Yeah, I would go. It would depend on how well they were indexed and whether or not whether they appeared far enough up the list to be able to be found. Yeah.
Definitely not the content of the group like you would get with like searching Stack Overflow or something where you actually get the discussion you're looking for. I think maybe if you put the exact group title into Google, you might get a Facebook because if it's been linked otherwise, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting point though. I mean, what would stop you from writing a blog all about what a discussion was in your Facebook group with a link to your Facebook group, and now all of a sudden there's an index? So, you know, and someone's searching for what you're talking about, you've now got it out there on Google as well. So maybe there's a little hack in there. Who knows that we've discovered something there. You
could actually put something up on you know, in the Google My Business space where you could post in there and post it off to your Facebook group and link it that way, and it probably would find it.
There you go. You heard it here first, guys, on the Digital Toolkit. We're breaking all sorts of barriers today. But I love what Jeff and Taryn are talking about. And what I like about it is if you start to think about, if you've got a Facebook group, start to think about it as a forum. So one of the best things you can do to get your group to be really interactive is to ask questions. One of the even better things you can do, as Alex has pointed out, is get other members of your group answering those questions. And even better than that, if you can get your gurus in your group. And I know we often call out our key experts, and I've invited some experts who are copywriters or video experts and all these different fields that we don't do. I've included them in the group so that people, when they ask for advice, I can say, hey, here's the expert, ask them. And I introduce them to the group, and now all of a sudden there's a whole conversation going on and I can just watch it go. So absolutely, think of your group, from my mind, as a forum. Questions are a great way to get interaction, getting other people to answer them, and having some people in your group who are out there being the gurus and answering those questions is a great way to share the love, but share the, what would you call it? The requirement of you as an admin to have to be in there all the time. So Sheldon, I'm going to flick it back to you a minute, because what I want to talk about now is what are some tips. So the second half of this particular panel is going to be, okay, here's some ideas around Facebook. And we've talked about, you know, growing communities, organic reach. It's great for that, starting conversations, supporting your clients and all those sorts of things, creating a forum, solve my problem, which is awesome. I love what Jeff was saying. You know, people will, that little line of code that coders want, they go to forums to find that. I need this thing to this, where's the line of code that'll help me, you know? So where do people go to find out problems? Can you get them to come to your Facebook group to try and solve that problem that they might have? The other thing that I'd written down as well was research. Facebook groups are really good for research. We often in our group run polls or questionnaires or ask for feedback, and we often test market things. So we'll go to our group and say, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What would everybody want? Is it something that you'd like? And they either come back and say, nah, or they don't even come back and say anything, or they come back and say, yes, please, can I have it? Where's the link? So you automatically are test marketing some of the products that you might come up with or services you might deliver with people who already know, like, and trust you, so that you can do a little bit of test market in there, maybe give away things for free in your group. And then if people like it, you can go out and give that out to the marketplace. So test markets, research, questionnaire, early bird offers, all that sort of stuff in groups is awesome as well, because people know, like, and trust you in there. And apparently, according to Auntie Google, people are 16 times more likely to open a Facebook post or read a Facebook post or open an email if you're their friend, if they know you. 16 times more likely. So create that know, like, and trust in your group, and that'll help people want to open your emails as well, which is really cool. So let's move on from the reasons to have a Facebook group into more around the tips. I know we've already shared a couple of those. What are some of the tips that you guys can offer for people around how to open a Facebook group, create engagement, grow it? What are some of the thoughts, Sheldon, you can offer around some tips?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is to have quite good rules and the way in which the group will operate. So if it's quite clear how the group works and whether you're going to allow people to promote themselves or their businesses within that group, just make sure that's really clear. And if you want to get, like, as Alex was saying, if you want to have the people within your group offer support, tell them they can, or tell them they can't if that's what you don't want. So it's up to you how, but make it really clear how those things would work. Also do things, if you want to create the engagement, have like discussion times of the day or times of the week. So each day, you know, have a particular theme that you're going to work on, and make sure that's what the group has, so that people within your group know what day things are going to be there for them, and if they're interested, that's where they'll go. And yeah, I mean, I sort of close mine down, so I don't allow people to sell in it or promote their own products or anything in my group, because it's a support group for the people. So they want to get in touch with me. So in that case, I need to be active on the group, and they need to know what time I'm there. So they need to know that I won't respond to them before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when that's when I go into the groups and start doing my social media work. So it's before 7 a.m. in the morning and after 3 o'clock in the afternoon each day. Other than that, I don't go there.
Brilliant. I love it. I like that idea of setting expectations as well, Sheldon, so that your group are comfortable with what and when and how, and they've got an expectation of when you're available too, which is really, really cool. Do you do anything particularly, Sheldon, to welcome people to your groups when they join?
That's an interesting thing, because normally they've already engaged with me, so we're already talking, so they get the invite to the group after they become at least friends or close, we have contact. So the answer is I don't have a need to do that, because we're already have established at least part of the know, like, trust loop. So yeah, not really, no.
Yeah.
I have seen quite a couple of groups that do that. It kind of helps break that ice initially and actually encourage the person to, like, I don't know, instead of just being dropped into a group that you've not had any interactions with, doing like I know one of the other bigger groups here in Brisbane. What's the name of the one that Kevin Gammy runs?
Queensland Business, is it?
No, it's Brisbane Business Group, isn't it?
Something like
Brisbane
that.
Business Group. Yep.
I'm not sure. I haven't been in there in a while, but I know that they used to do like and one of the accounting practice groups that I'm in as well. They do like a welcome message when, like, and it's not even like sitting there like monitoring who joins the group. Like, they do it every couple of weeks. You know, where they'll just go in, have a look at who's recently joined the group and be like, you know, a big welcome to, you know, these people here, and it just kind of breaks that ice initially and kind of, I don't know, starts a conversation with people. I think it is, I haven't done it in the Encored group either though, so I'm guilty of not doing it, but I think it is, I have seen it work pretty well. So yeah, it's a pretty good tip.
We've got a nice little system for ours, because it definitely help with the engagement. And I think it also enables people to feel a little bit more like they feel part of the group instantly, and it encourages them to share something. So we do a weekly welcome in our group. So welcome to all the new members this week. Please drop a line below in this commentary to introduce yourself. So it encourages them to put something in there, and we get to know a little bit about them. But we automate it so that when they answer those questions and they want to join in, they actually get a personal welcome from us as well. So they get a little Facebook message saying, hey, awesome, you want to join the group, we've just let you in. And if they've asked to get the weekly rocket, we confirm that it's on its way to them. If they've said they already get it, we go, hey, that's awesome. So they get a little personal Facebook message as well. So there's that little bit of, I'm being treated as something a little bit more special here. Because what I find is one of the best ways to grow your business, let alone your Facebook group, is referral. And if somebody feels really comfortable and welcomed and they really like the experience, guess what? They're going to tell other people what an awesome group it is, and ideally invite other people. And a lot of our growth has come from our members inviting others to join. So we recently reached our 2,000th member, and we had a 2,000 member party online, which was hilarious. There was a bit of hilarity. There was lots of drinking, some trivia pursuit, and we spun the wheel, and a lot of the members donated gifts. And we just made sure the winners matched the gifters, and off we went and had a bit of a party in our group, which was awesome. So, so yeah, you can automate that stuff. So, and again, it's reaching out to people who are part of this panel and asking for help to do that. I know Andrea's got lots of things she does with that. I know that Also in the hot and healthy group, you often get a welcome and a personal message. So, you know, ask any of the panelists for their help on the digital toolkit as well to find out more about doing this. And you can also automate it from the back end of your Facebook group. I don't know whether you get into the back end of your Facebook group very often, Sheldon, but we do a mass welcome for the week, plus a private little welcome, but we also do top contributors of the week. And you can just grab that out of the back end of your Facebook group. It tells you who the top contributors were. We put them up there. We have it as a running total for the year. The person who's the top at the end of the year gets a prize. But again, it's encouraging contribution, and it's encouraging people to be part of that organization. So that would be a tip from me as well, is go into the back end of your Facebook group and see what data is on there, because there's some cool stuff on there that you can simply just screen grab and share into the group, and it creates a lot of engagement. So Taryn,
it's important to actually have measurements of those things too, Lauren, to be able to capture those within your business and go, well, if I'm investing this much time in Facebook, what's it giving back to me in terms of the measurement side of things? And we'll probably highlight that, you know, a couple of weeks time when we go into the data collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sheldon, it's a very good point. So, so the back end of your Facebook, you're quite right. A lot of the time when we're doing award submissions and someone says, I've got this Facebook group, and you say, well, what's the story? Or I've got a Facebook page. We'll say, give us a screenshot of the growth. And that's great support documentation for award support as well, to say that you're actually doing those things. So what else have you got, guys? Taryn and Jeff, is there anything you can encourage people to do with, not necessarily just Facebook groups, but with, you know, collaborating or building communities and so on online?
I think it's like any other aspect of your business. There needs to be a value proposition for your client. There needs to be a reason for them to stick around. So if you don't have the time, you're not active enough yourself, especially in the early days of that business, that page, it's not going to go anywhere quickly. People will start to drop off, and your community won't build itself. You've got to be able to invest that time before it starts rolling on its own.
And the other example that we actually provide, do we have enough time for me to go into a? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. One of the other examples that we were talking about earlier was we worked with I guess a business that was creating an app. They were building a marketplace within the app, but while the app was being developed, they needed to build a community, because otherwise the app wouldn't have there wouldn't be anything on the app for anyone to use. So one of the clever things the founder did was an app called Swap You. I'm sure some of you may have heard of it. He'd gone ahead and created Facebook groups for swapping items, swapping cars, and he created Facebook groups specifically for swapping utes, specifically for swapping, what other things did he have?
Motorcycles, boats, bikes, I think, or something.
Yeah, it was like Brisbane swap and sell and all that. So he created these groups and amassed a lot of people into these groups. So as soon as his app launched, he handed them with this announcement that basically said, hey guys, I've got this app that makes it so much easier for you to do the swap that you're already doing. So what he'd done was effectively use these Facebook groups to create an addressable market that he could take pretty much by storm with his app. And that worked really well for him. I don't actually remember the latest count of how many downloads and users he had, but it's pretty high up there. And it pretty much got facilitated entirely by these Facebook groups. So I guess my point is that your imagination is really what drives this, right? There's a million and one possibilities with Facebook groups, and it's all down to the way you use it. And you know, obviously, Taryn's point was about whether it adds value to your customer. And in this particular case, it really did add value, because the people wanted to swap things. That need was already there. He just facilitated it, and then he took advantage of it, which was it was brilliant in terms of from a marketing point of view. So yeah, like there's a lot of possibilities, and I think you just had to think about how you can use it for your business and how you can make your community interact with each other. I think there's a huge potential.
That's pure genius, isn't it? To create a whole community that likes doing something. Absolutely. And then provide them with a better way of doing it. I mean, hello, Absolute genius. So I love it. And it is true. It's all very well to be out there creating stuff, whether it's products or apps or services or whatever. But if you don't have an audience, it's just, you know, I talk about this all the time with people who are writing books. You know, writing the book is one thing, but at the same time, you have to grow your audience, because by the time your book is ready to publish and sell, it's not the right time to be building an audience. You know, it's just not going to happen. It's going to take a lot longer. So great point, guys. I love it. And that value proposition. Why else would people want to spend time in groups unless there was some value there? Absolutely. I agree 100% with this. I know in the Rocket Launch Your Business Facebook group, we often post media opportunities. So if somebody wants a guest speaker or a podcast guest, or there's an online blog that's looking for articles from particular people, we'll put it in that group. And people will go, wow, this is awesome. I'm getting free opportunity to get my brand out there from this Facebook group. So guess what? When the Weekly Rocket comes along and you can subscribe to that, it's a no-brainer. Same sort of proposition, Jeff. Here's an even better way to do what you're already doing. So I love it. That's so cool. So guys, we're probably not far off wrapping this up. So you definitely offers, promotions at a minimum, according to what Sheldon was saying. Figure out what the purpose of your group is, make sure everybody knows the rules, maybe have some discussion topics and starters and so on. But yeah, be really clear about what you want to use your group for, and it makes sense to build that community if you're going to market to them anyway. A couple of other tips I would give on growing your group is be clear with the name of your business, of your Facebook group. What's it for? I love that idea of swap, buy and sell. It's quite clear, isn't it, what it's for? So be really clear with the name of it. I know Kimra Luna, when she was doing digital marketing years ago, she called her group the Freedom Hackers. And it was just really interesting about creating an income online. And everyone in that group started calling themselves a freedom hacker. So she actually created a whole culture around the name of her group, which was really, really cool. So who's your group for? What's it all about? What sort of value are you offering with your group, which was Taryn's point. And the other ways to grow your group, guys, is some really simple basic stuff. Make sure you put a link to your Facebook group in your email footer. So every time somebody gets an email from you, they can go and jump in there and join your Facebook group. Put it in your database. So when you're sending out your newsletters to people, make sure they know that there's also a Facebook group and they can get more regular information and updates and value in your group and so on. And cross-channel promotion. There's no reason why you can't promote your Facebook group on your LinkedIn page, on your YouTube channel, in your email database, wherever you can talk about joining your group. So, and I certainly have it as part of our autoresponders, as Alex was talking about with an onboarding situation. So, and as Sheldon does with his clients as well. So there you go, guys. There's lots and lots of information on how to, why for a start, but also how to get your Facebook groups going. I'm going to quickly just pass to each one of our panel members with any other last minute tips or advice that you have for everybody. Sheldon, have you got anything for anyone?
Yeah, I think it's that idea we created about Google My Business links to your Facebook groups might be quite an interesting strategy to try to see how it works, because Google My Business is quite a useful piece of marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, yeah, you heard it first here, guys. We were the ones who came up with that one first. So if it does work, we're claiming all registration on that one.
All royalties.
All royalties come to us. No, I love it. That's really, really cool. So awesome. Alex, anything from you before we finish up today?
I did a very quick search around for the what we were just talking about then with Googling Facebook groups and stuff, and it seems very dependent on the type of group that you have, whether it's a closed group, secret group, open group, and that type of thing. So have a play around with the group type, and as part of that experiment, I tend to think as well. But anyway, yeah, great discussion. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool. Nice to have you here as always. And hopefully you can feel your face at the end of the day. Taryn and Alex just come back from the dentist in case anyone didn't know what that was all about. Taryn and Jeff, any last minute comments for everybody?
Yeah, I actually had a question just because I was curious. Lauren, you mentioned that you collect the emails from when anyone joins one of your groups. Do you automate that process to get those emails onto, say, MailChimp, or is that manual?
At the moment, I automate it by getting somebody else to do it, which is awesome. But we have all the templates there, copy and paste and so on, and all they do is go straight to that page, subscribe for them, and they immediately get a thank you. So it's pretty much automated, just that little step in between that my fabulous office assistant does for us.
Okay,
She just goes in there every day and welcomes new people and does that for us, which is great. So yeah, I'm sure there might be a Zap somewhere that you can do, or, you know, whatever. But at this moment, that's not really quite capable on Facebook. But it's certainly working for us. We're growing our database quite quickly with that group and vice versa. So the thing is, I guess, Jeff, is that it's all about knowing the purpose of your group, knowing your audience, and making sure you're offering them value, but making sure you are cross-promoting. And Annette and I talk about this all the time, repurposing and cross-promoting, because we sort of think that everybody's looking for our content, and in reality they're not. There's so much content out there. You've got to just make sure you're in front of people in all sorts of different ways and not spreading yourself too thin. So yes, one of the big tips I would give today is Facebook groups are awesome for business if the purpose is right. Because you can waste a huge amount of time in there. As Sheldon says, he makes it really clear when he's available in that group. You might want to do the same thing. Maybe you go live one day a week in that group or something. So, you know, just be really cautious before you jump into all these things. You can't be everywhere for everyone. You need to be a bit more careful with where you spend your time. So just work out what's the purpose of the group. Make it really clear who it's for, what it does, and then, yeah, leverage it. Make sure you're using as much of it as you can. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen again, if Zoom's going to let me do that. Share screen, because we're going to talk about what's coming up next week. Next week, that's the 28th of October, what's making digital partnerships work, and how can you get digital partnerships to work for you? There's some awesome guests appearing.
It's a blank screen, Lauren.
It's a blank screen? Well, that's really awesome, isn't it? I wonder whether I can get it.
No, I'm seeing that okay.
It says you shared your screen, but it just sits there as a blank screen. Maybe it's the response on my machine's not good enough yet.
Maybe the hamsters sort of slowed down a little bit on the web.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. So I'm not quite sure who the speakers are on that. I do know that there's somebody leading that, and I'm just trying to find out who is our host next week. On my desktop is a PDF.
I think we are.
Oh, are you? Awesome. I love it. Well, that's very cool. Jeff and Karen.
It's going to be a catastrophe. No, it'll be fun.
It's going to be very entertaining next week when Jeff and Taryn step in and take over.
Buttons and the voices will all be on mute. You know, it'll be great fun.
Fabulous. I did do a live event last week in front of real people, and I started talking, but there was no sound coming out, and I said maybe I was on mute, which made everybody laugh in the audience. So yeah, all good fun and games. So look, thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for those who've joined us. And for those who are watching the recording as well. Thank you very much, Sheldon Moore, Alex Cumberland, Taryn and Jeff from Cassie as well. It's been awesome to have you here. And thank you, Katrina, for setting up this amazing platform, the Digital Toolkit, that happens every Wednesday. It's just extraordinary, the people that we're meeting and the help that we're providing. Thanks to you and the lovely Cassie in the background. Cassie, you're in the background setting things up and running things beautiful. Thank you so much for your help. And we will see you all at the next one.
Thanks, guys.